Hey folks, welcome back to the BookFunnel Blurb Review. My name is Jack. I am our lead author support specialist here at BookFunnel, and we're reviewing some blurbs today. So I want to remind everybody a couple things before we dive in to reviewing this blurb from one of our BookFunnel authors. A couple things that you need to keep in mind when you're writing a blurb, right? We want to avoid info dumping. We want to avoid cliches. Our whole goal here is to hook the reader and not introduce too much information. We also want to communicate genre expectations and reader expectations in the blurb. Our blurb should be short and sweet. We don't want to make it too long. This is not a full summary of your novel. This is simply a short summation of the key events, the main character, the conflict, maybe the antagonist, a few little details, and only the necessary details to give the reader enough information to allow them to decide whether or not they want to read the book. So let's dive in to this blurb review for Under a God-Made Mountain by Jeffrey Hall. Jeffrey submitted this blurb to be reviewed a while back. Thank you, Jeffrey, for your patience. So immediately when I'm looking at this blurb review, the things that are standing out to me is that he's done a very good job here of not info dumping. Melk is who we're introduced to at the very beginning, and presumably this is the main character. And then we're given this other place name here. Right? I'm not gonna Mount Mithugarna. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Obviously made up terms and so forth. That can be sometimes tricky to include in your blurb, but in this case, I think it works out all right. It adds some flavor, and honestly, it's telling me here this is fantasy. So that's fine. It's not a real world mountain, so that's totally fine. And then from what I can tell, that's really it. We don't have any other references to characters or places within the world, and so he's done a good job here of not info dumping. Here we have the main character mentioned again. No one else and nothing else is mentioned by name in this blurb, and that's actually a good thing. So that works out well here. So Melk, a tamer of lions used to fight for his nation's crusade, has lived a life of violence, right? This is catching us right here at the beginning and hooking us with the character, giving us a little bit of insight into the character. When an act of defiance seals his fate, he is banished to Mount Mithugarna, a labyrinth said to be the home to unspeakable horrors. So he's generating some curiosity here right away in this first paragraph, even just in those first two sentences. And that's great. Beneath 5 other criminals await the same doom. So we're adding a layer of complexity here, potentially hinting at some conflict. Together, the depraved company must navigate the mountain's cursed depths. But survival is not the only test. Something far worse than death stalks the corridors. As Melk battles the monsters outside and within, he realizes that his greatest enemy may be the darkness that has always lurked inside his soul. And there we have the conflict. So this is actually done, I think, just right. It's short and sweet, and we are communicating the information, only the information that is needed about the conflict, the stakes here, setting the stage, if you will. Now, there's also a paragraph here at the bottom that you can see that is italicized. And this is something that it has become a little bit more common. You might see this on some other blurbs from authors you might know, where the author is speaking more directly. So this is showing that this is separate from the blurb itself. And this is a statement about the book's content. So Under a God-Made Mountain is a fast-paced horror fantasy journey through the darkness that lurks within us and beneath our feet that would appeal to fans of the horror in Pan's Labyrinth and the coming-of-age story of the Book of Lost Things. So this is something that some authors will do occasionally. And in this case, he's comparing his book to other books. In this case, because those books are a little bit more obscure, I think that's fine. I would be cautious if you're going to compare your books in this way to other very popular books like Game of Thrones or what have you, right? Taking like the most popular book in your genre and comparing your book to that, maybe not a great idea in that case. But this is a little bit more niche, and this is fine. This is something that is done a little bit more in romance genres, where you're really needing to communicate to the reader, this is what is included in the book, this is what's in the book, And this is also what's not in the book, so that they can decide to leave it at the door and reject it, or if it's something that's going to interest them. However, this isn't necessary for every genre. For niche genres, it can be helpful if you're trying to make a connection, like in this case to Pan's Labyrinth. But for a lot of genres, this typically isn't necessary. Typically, you would want to communicate those genre expectations, which is what this paragraph is trying to do, in the main body of the blurb, also through the book cover. Right? That's where you want to communicate that information. And I guess I totally missed the headline here. Now that I've gotten all the way through the blurb, in the halls of a living nightmare, survival means confronting the darkness you cannot escape. That sort of tagline there at the beginning. I would say it is a little generic, but it makes sense once we get down here to the end. And really, I think at the end here, it's framed the best. And so we're introduced to the character first, and then it kind of comes full circle. So notice he's introducing this concept and then he returns to it at the end. It's kind of like a story in and of itself in a way. So there you go, guys. If you'd like your blurb reviewed, feel free to drop the pen name and title in the comments here, and I can check it out for a future blurb review. We also have a submission form in the comments as well if you want to submit it that way. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.